Good evening. I'm Kim Aston, your host of the Cosmic Disclosure Hour. Something very strange is going on. If you don't already know, many secret projects are going on right under our noses and behind our backs. Whistleblowers are coming forward in droves. In this podcast, I will give you a guided tour of each episode of the Cosmic Disclosure series on Gaia, starting today from the very beginning with episode 1, when Paul reveals his true identity as Emery Smith, a person who worked in clandestine operatives in the military. In this episode, David Wilcock interviews Emery Smith. There's a lot to unpack here. We're going to try to do it in a manner that is in the order of the episode itself. It is going to be a very interesting episode because we're going to see a very timid whistleblower come forward and be very brave and eventually become the host of Cosmic Disclosure. So this starts with David Wilcock asking Emery, how did you even begin to get the position as the physician to do the alien autopsy in the movie series? So Emery starts to tell David Wilcock from the very beginning how it all started. And as I mentioned in the previous episode, Emery was in the military to begin with, and just doing regular military service. And he was a surgical technician, moved up to paramedic, went to surgical assist, and then became a teacher very quickly. It was then that he was noticed by these compartmental programs. They figured he would be perfect for the job. And they offered him a moonlighting position within their secret programs. Of course, Emery was intrigued, and they offered to pay him. It meant more work because he would keep his day job at the military, but then he would get extra pay because he would sneak off the base and go to ride his bicycle to another building that just looked kind of like a fire tower. He would climb into the building, and once inside, there was an escalator. And the escalator took him down, I guess, 50 stories. He's been all over, but eventually he was able to see that this escalator would go down 50 stories, and there's different departments, different people doing many different things behind closed doors that even Emery didn't know. And his job started out, pretty normal. He would just get he would get tissue samples from a drawer in a wall. And his job was to pull the tissue out and dissect the tissue and label it. So he would remove the veins, he would remove the muscle and the tendons, all the while labeling everything. Put it right back in the drawer, shut the drawer, and somebody on the other side that he never saw would collect it. And they would do their studies on these, who knows what they would do with these things that he turned into the drawer. So it's all fine and well, right? Not a big deal. We haven't gotten to the clandestine secret part yet. It's going to blow your mind. At first, these were just normal tissue samples from normal specimens, things, everyday animals, creatures, things, people that, a person in his line of work would see on a regular basis. And then one day, he got a piece of tissue that didn't look like the regular normal cut of, he described it as looking like a little salmon fillet most of the time. He started getting tissue that looked like it was from non-human origin, unearthly origin. Can you imagine? So Emery goes on to explain this because he's used to it, but we're all kind of going, are you kidding me? What were you thinking? I think, okay, I'm done. I'm out of here, right? But no, he was intrigued and he stayed with it. And I'm sure he was getting paid well, and everything pointed towards, just staying with this program. But I'm sure his mind was blown, right? And so David Wilcock is hearing all of this. Of course, he knows the story because he and David go back like 10 years. And David had been trying to get him to come out for a long time. And so finally, I guess David had leaked some information about Emery. But we'll get into that in a minute. But Emery had come under attack, unfortunately. What happened was Emery continued in this program for a long time, and he started to get a little uncomfortable. And the reason is one of the beings that came through was still warm. And not only was this just a normal being that was still warm, it actually wasn't a normal being. It was an alien being. And at first, it was a hand of an alien, a leg, and then it was a whole body. But what bothered him was that it was actually warm still. And so because he felt that something had befallen this alien, and he was killed to be studied, Emery didn't agree with that. He felt uncomfortable with that. He's got morals, and he actually resigned. So moving forward, we'll come back to this. We'll come back to this topic. Moving forward, David asks Emery about more about what led up to the Sirius movie and all the things that he did. And Emery goes on to explain about how he had 3 assassination attempts against him. Well, let's start with a couple pictures. I'll show you some photographs that I collected. And first, let's start with the actual alien being in the movie Sirius. Now, Dr. Greer and Dr. Janet Bravo were assisting Emery in this. So this is a picture of the actual being in the movie, okay? Check it out. This is the alien being, which is a whole nother intriguing story. But we'll let you watch the movie to get that story. So here is the 3 of them. These are Emery's hands getting the DNA from the being. The being was actually held by the government and was taken by a private sector group. And they allowed Emery and his team to get this DNA. So they wanted to get the DNA and have it studied and rule out any possibility of it being human. And you have to watch Sirius to get the rest of that story. Very interesting. Now, back to the fact that Emery had his life threatened on more than one occasion. I guess three attempts on his life had to do with David leaking something. I'm not sure what it was that he leaked because they didn't mention it. So David Wilcock accidentally leaked something about Emery, and they, I guess what happened was Emery was moving an invention that he had made that was about free energy. So he thinks that this is why that he had the attempts on his life was because there are a lot, as many of you know, there are a lot of people that don't want free energy because you're basically, making a lot of these people money by paying for gas and electricity and all these things. The people that rule the world, right? Well, they're so powerful, these people, that they don't want anyone. And we all know many times people that come out with, like cars that run on water. When they have these inventions and these people come out with these things, they're unalived. So Emery, he's not sure why he's having these problems, but it happened after David Wilcock had leaked something about Emery's invention, free energy invention. So here, let me show you a picture of Emery's vehicle, which was in a head-on collision that he believes was deliberate. He was actually in transit with one of his inventions. Here's the devastation. And I hate to show it, but this is Emery's vehicle. So this is some serious stuff, people. It's sad that we can't move forward with free energy would change the world. Of course, the airbags. Emery's okay. But this was an incident that was one of the times that he had his life threatened, or he was trying to be killed, unalived. Now, there were other times that not only did they attempt to take his life, but they attempted to take his, and I believe they were successful, they took his inventions. I believe they ransacked, I don't think that this is discussed in this episode, but they ransacked his entire laboratory and pulled everything. Can you imagine having to start over after all of that? Here, now Emery says that these people are so elite and high up that they have capability to use satellites that are so fine-tuned they can see like into the earth. And it's clear that they use these satellites to find out where Emery was keeping his inventions, because there's nobody that would know where he kept his inventions except for him. And they went directly to where they were, and they could only know this by satellite. Here is a picture of where they kicked in the door to his laboratory. You can see the footprints of them kicking the door in. Look at the force, people. Look at the force. Here is where they actually cut into the walls of his home, going after his invention, or walls to his laboratory. This is where he kept some of his sensitive equipment. They knew right where to go. They went directly to the spot. And I guess here's another, can you imagine satellite going through that? It's like, that looks like there's a little technical device in there we need to get. Let's collect that. They cut into the brick and went in there and got it. I mean, who knows? Maybe they could even go back in time with these satellites and see when this was created. Who knows? In any case, it's terrifying. And it's enough to make nobody want to do anything to move forward. It's almost like I was talking with somebody about AI today. I mean, we're moving forward with AI. It's amazing they're even allowing that. But it kind of doesn't surprise me, because they can control better with AI. The people can control the people better with AI. Another picture. Another couple pictures. This is how they first entered the property of Emery Smith's home. They actually rammed his fence. They rammed his fence, knocking it over, rushed inside the building, and then cut away. And then eventually kicking the door in to his laboratory. I imagine they kicked his laboratory in, and then when they didn't find what they wanted, they knew they were probably hitting all these different spots. So Emery's been through it. He's been through a lot. Let's get back to what David Wilcock was talking to Emery about. Okay, so here's where it gets pretty more intense. This is where the rubber meets the road. Emery is captured. He is captured by these elites and flown to Florida and taken to a wet room. Do you know what a wet room is? If you don't, I'll explain it. A wet room is typically used on farms and industry in which there is a kill area for animals to be killed. And it's equipped with tile on the walls, tile on the floor, tile everywhere, sprinklers, easy cleanup. It's just, they just hose everything off for any biological matter, and it's all taken care of. Emery had seen a wet room before. He knows what a wet room looks like. So as you can imagine, he was devastated. Let me see here in my notes. Emery, they were ready to kill Emery. So Emery pleaded with them. This is real stuff. This is true. This really happened. So, I mean, this is riveting. I can't believe I'm actually able to do a podcast about this. It's real. It's not a story out of a book. This really happened to Emery. So Emery pleads with them. He says, before you kill me, could you please show me and tell me where I have violated my contract? Because that's what they told him, that he violated his contract. Apparently with the military, he didn't really know what they were talking about. So he said, show me and tell me where I violated my contract. I'll be happy with that. He said, you know everything about me. You have your own satellite on me. You know every phone, text message. You know everything. Everything is bugged. So just tell me. Just tell me. So after 8 hours of sweating in that room, after he told them that, they came in and they said, we're very sorry, Mr. Smith. It was an internal problem. You will never have to worry about this again. We apologize. And they let him go. And he says it was a beautiful moment. And he gets kind of emotional about it. I was thinking about this. I was thinking that maybe the fact that Emery told him that, you know everything about me, I'm bugged, you know every text message, you got your satellite on me, they knew that they would be busted. They knew they were being watched. Because if they've got Emery in their custody and he's got all that surveillance on him, which he had admitted to them, maybe they're thinking, oh, well, then they know right where he's at. They know what we're doing, and we better stop. Now, that's just my theory. I don't know if it's true or not. But, I mean, you can come up with a lot of conclusions in your own summarizations, summations of what you think happened. It's just, you could sit and think about this, which I did for a week, and come up with all kinds of different theories of things that happened, that could happen, will happen, the future's going to be like, with all this stuff that obviously is out there. Free energy is out there. Medical breakthroughs are available and being used in all of these compartmentalized projects, including anti-aging people. Kind of cool. I hope it's available in my lifetime. Well, I mean, it is available, I guess, to the elites, but to the common person. When's it going to be available for us, right? That's what we all want to know, right? Let's check out. Is there anybody in the chat? Oh, hi, Tiffany, Ryan. Hi, everybody. And we're going to have some time to talk about all this later. After I'm done with the presentation, I'm going to go right into the chat and answer questions, and we're going to talk, and we're going to have a jolly old time. So in the meantime, let's get back to Emery and David Wilcock. Emery was brought in also, it's important to mention, Emery was brought in to look at live craft that were alive because of his experience. In these compartmental projects, he saw craft that were alive. It's out there, folks. Craft are alive. And they're connected to the pilot with their DNA. That's how they can think about where they want to go, and it happens because the craft is probably not only interstellar but interdimensional. They just go. It's an amazing future that we have. So Emery was brought in to look at craft that were alive. I have a picture of a I had AI create a picture for me depicting what a live craft could look like. So here we go. Oh, wrong. That's later. Here it is. Look at this. Here is an AI generated image of a biomechanical spacecraft that is partially alive, created using DAL-E. It blends organic and technological elements featuring a living exoskeleton. Oh, I've got my little caption there coming across the bottom. Let's see if I can't get that thing to come on. So, yeah. With glowing bioluminescent veins. That doesn't rattle you. And look at the being inside. You could see that they're mixing the titanium with tissue, which is a thing. And that's how Emery also got his start in being interested in combining tissue with titanium, because in these compartmentalized projects, they are bringing down these ships and back engineering them and studying them. This is pretty amazing stuff right here. So you can see veins and metal. Yeah, it's beyond intriguing. So yeah, craft that are alive, that are connected to the pilot, that go anywhere the pilot wants to go with just a thought, because they're made up of the same stuff. So Emery was talking about how he's getting into, or was getting into, titanium tissue integration. I'm pretty excited about that. Things are going to be very different for people that could use this sort of technology. It makes the bone density 10 times stronger. Can you imagine that? The things that we're going to see in our future are so exciting. I just hope that they allow this stuff to come through. Okay, so we have that, and then the anti-aging. Now, Emery, he learned so much in these compartmentalized projects that he's actually, I explained it in the last podcast, how he actually has created a machine, a scanning machine. He calls it the Emery Star machine, and it scans the body for any pathogens that might reside in there. And he can tell you, if you get a scan, he can tell you all about you. He'll know more about you than you know, which is amazing. And this after you get scanned, you can also get healed. Yes. Emery has a store, emerysmith.co, where he actually sells his serums. And he and his wife, she's a nurse, they treat people. And how this came about, which I explained in the last episode of my podcast, was that Emery was diagnosed with cancer. And his wife, Darla, she absolutely would have none of it. She scanned him and basically started treating him. And Emery had already been working on a nano product that he knew he had to raise the millivolts in his body in order for them to be more effective. They got busy with everything that they'd been studying and working on, and they put together all of the knowledge that Emery has acquired over the years in these projects and created Nano Blue. So Nano Blue is something you can get a hold of on his site, emerysmith.co. But Emery says if you can just get rid of inflammation, the body has most everything available to cure itself, to heal itself. And it's about inflammation and having your DNA corrected and everything right so that you don't have inflammation. And they've been healing a lot of people. There's been a lot of miracles. They're just doing wonderful things. That's just like part of this story. The rest of the story is that Emery, where he learned all of this stuff, David Wilcock wants to know more about the facility. So there's more to this story. The facility that Emery worked in, where he gained all of this information, is incredible. Let me pull up a picture. Now, I did another rendition of what I believed to be, I must not have downloaded it. Oh, no, I guess I did not download it. That's just too bad. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, so obviously there's not a picture of an operatory that Emery worked in. So I used his description to come up with an AI rendering of it. It's probably far from what he actually saw, but to give you an idea, these rooms that he worked in that were top secret had they were pressurized. They had to be extremely sterile. So these rooms were pressurized, and he was fitted with a surgical suit, pretty much ambidextrous, and the surgical suit, he had to be, there were protocols to get into this suit. Once he was in this suit, it had its own air system to breathe in. And he would be hooked up to a breathing system so that he did not even breathe on these specimens. And this is really interesting. So the rooms were pressurized, and he said the doors they look kind of like something that you would see on Star Trek or Star Wars. So here's a little picture I pulled up on the internet with kind of the same description that he gave. So here we go. Kind of cool, eh? So this is an example of, to me, what Emery might have seen. It's a sterile environment, minus the steel tables and the surgical instruments laying out. This is kind of probably what it would look like with the computer technology and the pressurized doors and whatnot. Kind of cool. So this is where they would be studying the titanium tissue integration and bone density. Now, Emery said they were doing all kinds of experiments he knew of in that building in Sandia Labs. He said that he'd seen even, he didn't know if they were actually sentient or had consciousness, but he saw creatures walking by, 8 foot tall insectoids. And he felt like that they would toy with him to see what his reaction would be. When he's in these situations where he's working on these specimens and things, they're monitoring his heart rate. They're watching him. And of course, he had to watch everything he said or did when he left the lab because, obviously he was sworn to secrecy and he had to mind his P's and Q's. So this can you imagine the intense environment you had to live in to be able to survive as a worker in one of these situations? I mean, the tension and the stress has to be incredible. I was a dental assistant, and I know all about keeping instruments sterile and clean. So, and my job was to hand the dentist all of his instruments, how he wanted them, when he wanted them, and I had to know exactly what he would want before he asked for them. So, yeah, it's intense. But even more so, working on the whole body, I just worked on teeth. So, anyway, David Wilcock, he's getting more information from Emery. Oh, I should read you Emery's description of the operatory. So David Wilcock asks Emery, so what was it like in that building? Emery says, it goes down 30. Oh, I thought it was 50. I said 50 earlier. So it's actually 30 floors. And you would see, like in the movies, the room is kind of all white with tables, steel tables, and all these instruments are there. And you are escorted to this place, and you get in there, and there's a piece of tissue. The room is all positive pressure, and I go in there and do a scrub out, just like a surgeon scrubs and puts his gown on and the hood and stuff. And you go in there, and you label. He's describing what I was telling you earlier. You label like you would, like when you were in school, in high school. So this is a muscle or whatever. I was just there to label and take small samples and put them in these different types of jars and containers, which I would then push through a wall in a drawer and a wall, and someone else would take it, and that was it. So I was basically taking tissue samples. So yeah, that's actually a description of what he was doing there. Let me see if I can find the description of the actual room. Because the room is in itself, it's just, his description is kind of cool. So, okay, you go through an airlock area, a pressurized area, to put your suit on. And that's the clean area and the sterile area. So there's like an airlock. You have your own little oxygen that you plug into the wall of your unit, so you don't have to carry anything. It's very lightweight. It's made of like a Gore-Tex polyurethane substance. It's waterproof and completely airproof. You have your own recycling air and your own speaker unit you can communicate with. So you have like this suit that's like a space suit, sounds like to me, and you can communicate with the suit, through the suit, to whom I don't know. Can you imagine all these questions we have for Emery? We'll put them in the chat. So yeah, this is just pretty incredible stuff. So David asks about the underground. Oh, okay, here's something interesting. I really, really thought this was just like crazy. Emery asks, or David asks Emery, so what about these underground tunnels? How are they even built? So they have these tubes, they're called lava tubes. And these machines that create these tubes are so powerful and so hot that they melt the granite. They just melt it and turn it into like a lava. And there is an underground freeway that can take you just about anywhere in the world, according to Emery. He says this in the episode. He says you can go just about anywhere you want in the world in these underground places. Kind of makes you want to go. There is a train system that goes all over the world. I guess these elites use this. They go everywhere. Can you imagine? How fast are these things going? These are called maglev trains. And they're raised off the ground, I guess, with magnets. Or, I'm sorry, I don't know how they're raised off the ground. I really don't know anything about these. But I think what keeps them aligned to the tracks is magnets. And here's where I picked up the picture of what would probably, said would probably the maglev underground freeway would look like. Here's a picture of a train that they created, AI created for me. Here's an AI-generated image of a futuristic underground maglev train system created using DALL-E. It depicts a high-tech, sleek train levitating in a well-lit subterranean tunnel with advanced lighting and digital displays. Get a load of that. Very, very interesting. Is it not? How would you like to go on that? You would wonder if that is ever going to become available to the common person. And you know what else I wonder? I wonder if beings that are from unearthly origin are using these on a regular basis, and they probably dread the day that the humans are going to take over. It's got to happen. It's got to happen. And we're trying to get a bullet train through California. I don't think that's going to happen in my lifetime. But it's funny to see all of these things that, you know, the mainstream media is talking about. It's been around forever. We've had it for years. Just catching on. So, lastly, I just wanted to say one thing that Emery had mentioned that was really cool was that David Wilcock asked Emery what his experience was, and does he remember the very first live alien, or not live, unalived alien specimen that he got through the drawer in the wall. And Emery said that the being was mostly intact except for its face. He couldn't recognize the face. But he did say that the skin was a blue, iridescent leopard type skin. And the leopard spots were colored like a peacock feather coloring is. Kind of like a peacock feather. Kind of cool. Anyways, I have no idea. Oh, we're doing okay time-wise. So we have a few things. We have a few minutes left. We could talk about a few things. Let's see who's in the chat. Stay safe, everyone, for real. Let's see what Tiffany says. Tiffany says, stay safe, everyone, for real. Because especially since David had a heart attack, I have heard that if someone has a pacemaker, the AI can literally shut you off too. There's literally nothing that can't be manipulated. It's that scary. Yeah. I wonder if I can get the rest of her message here. Might be too long. Brian, love you. Great. I love that. Darla probably loves that. Cade Martin. Yes. Yes. All right, guys. Does anybody have any questions? I'm sure Emery is curious to know what everybody thinks. I think that for somebody to go through something like that, you have anyways, this has been a really good podcast. A really good podcast. I hope you all enjoyed yourself. Had to take a little coffee break there and sip my little coffee so I don't fall asleep on you guys. This was a really wonderful session. This was the recap of uh, Cosmic Disclosure Series 1, Episode 1. Next week, we will be doing Cosmic Disclosure Series 1, Episode 2, which also has Emery. Eventually, Emery goes on to actually be the host of Cosmic Disclosure, but in the very beginning, it is him who is being interviewed. That is a very good stopping point. I hope I covered as much as I could possibly cover. This is so important, this information about all this wonderful technology that's becoming available to us in the future. Everything that Emery's going through, has been through, will go through, and is doing for everyone with his knowledge is wonderful news. Oh, we're going to pop on here and do a little ad for one of Emery's products. This is Darla. This is Emery's beautiful wife, Darla. And she's drinking the Nano Blue. This is the not Nano Blue, the Nano Pink. This is the Quantum Nano Pink Rose Gold Mana Solution. It is pure gold made into a colloidal nanoparticle, which gives it the pink tinge color. Then a quantum proprietary solution is added to it, which increases the gold frequency by 1,000 times. Pretty incredible, huh? She is an incredible person. She's Emery's nurse. That's how they met. She saved Emery's life. She is a big player in all of this disclosure. She supports Emery and props him up. And she pops in on the Facebook page once in a while. She's very busy, but she is an amazing person. I have yet to meet her in person. I've spoken to her a little bit. I'm hoping to have her on this podcast at some point as a guest. Wouldn't that be great? And maybe meet everybody this summer. They're going to have a get together this summer. Maybe everybody out there will join. Now, if you enjoyed this channel, if you feel like making a contribution, you can give me a tip right here in the chat. I put a link right there for you to send me a little tip. And also you can go to emerysmith.co to get some health remedies. And you can even make an appointment to get scanned. If you have some ailments and you're curious, you can get a scan and meet with Emery and Darla, and they'll do a workup on you, figure out what, if anything, is wrong. If you have any family members that need some help, definitely contact them. They are utilizing cutting edge technology, people, and this is a great opportunity for you. So on that note, let's see if I'm forgetting anything else. I think that about covers it. It's been great talking to everybody. I hope that you guys tune in next week. I'm going to be here every week. We've got a lot of episodes to cover. We will have guests sometimes. We will, I'll be doing these episodes regularly, but in between, maybe midweek, I'll also be having guests. If some of you would like to be a guest, you can make the comment in the chat and I will contact you and we can set up a time to do to have you on as a guest. I know that there are some people in the Bigfoot community that I'm very interested in having an interview with. There are people who are actually being visited by unearthly beings. I would love to chat with you too. If you feel that you have a story that you would like to share, you don't have to be known or famous. You can just be like little old me, just nobody. I would love to talk with you. And on that note, you guys have a great evening. Make sure you stay tuned. Oh, tomorrow, Emery Smith and Sebastian. Oh my goodness, Sebastian. Let me get his last name. They're having, I posted it on my Facebook. They're having a live, Emery is. And let me pull it up here so I get the correct names. So Cameron is Darla and Emery's right-hand man, Commander Salamander is what Emery calls him. He is behind the scenes working very hard to make all of this happen. And he and Sebastian Martin are having an interview tomorrow. Let's see if we can get the exact time. Tomorrow. I'm having difficulty finding the time. Oh, 12 p.m. PST, 3 p.m. EST, and 7 p.m. UTC time. So it's a live stream webinar with Sebastian Martin. Very exciting. A perception-based intelligence specialist to be interviewed by Emery Smith, where they'll be discussing classified missions, unbelievable rescue operations, including other important topics, including currently unfolding on the planet and future events leading to disclosure. Yeah, check it out tomorrow. Woohoo! It's going to be great. I won't be able to be there. I've got a birthday party. My daughter's turning 31. But I am going to wait to catch it later. And I'm going to look at all of your comments to hear about the excitement that I missed. So on that note, you guys, thanks for joining the Cosmic Disclosure Hour. There will be very many more of these. So make sure you hang tight and we'll see you next week. All right.